Gentlemen, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. It's
Welcome
nice
to
to
the show. Welcome to the Pop Go Project podcast. I've got Dan and Zai from the band Violet Silhouette. And I was nervous all day long that I was going to screw that up. And I'll tell you where that came from. I never really had a complex until I interviewed uh, the lead singer from Everclear, and I mispronounced his last name.
Oh, and he's got a heck of a last name.
Yeah. I was literally, I mean, I've been a huge fan of Arts for since like Santa Monica came out, and I read it back in the day on the inside on liner notes inside, and I saw it and I was like, that's pronounced Alexicus. So that was when I was like, what, 16 years old, and then
Right.
38-year-old John got to interview him. Like, so if you told 16-year-old John you'd be interviewing him one day, he would never believe you. So here I am in front of one of my favorite artists, and I say, Art Alexicus. And he goes, no, it's Alexakis. And I said, okay, great way to start.
But it's like also too, it's like especially like reading, because I grew up reading liner notes. Liner notes were like the second best part of the album.
Yeah.
Because you're looking through, you're reading all the thank yous, you're learning everybody's names. But yeah, I'm really terrible at pronouncing people's names now.
And it's carried with me. I actually do a little bit of emceeing for weddings, and 2 weekends ago, I had somebody call me in. He's very poor with names in general, and they're not even hard names. They're just he can't spell, he mispronounces them. He's like, hey, would you mind coming and announcing these names for me in the bridal party? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. I knew the bride and groom. I'm like, it's gonna be sweet. And I called the groom by the completely last wrong name. Completely wrong last name.
Oh, like not even you were. Oh man, Dan, you remember that one time we were playing and I thought that we were in an entirely different venue.
Oh yeah. Which
It
is
reminds
actually
me.
something that's pretty common. Like I've seen other bands do that.
Billy Corgan just did it at West Palm. He called it Palm Beach, California. We were
Sure.
in Florida, and he was like, he realized what he did, and he tried to, stumble with grace, but
Yeah.
yeah,
You just got to be like, I don't know. I'm sorry, everybody.
yeah, that's basically what he did.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. I got through it. Like I said, I knew the bride and groom. So, and he thought it was on purpose because the guy before him that I announced, his name was, I don't know what it was, but the last name was Williams. So I was being hidden from the groom because he didn't know I was there. This was a big surprise. So I'm announcing names, and typically I like to be able to put a face to the name when I'm announcing them. So it's just kind of weird that I couldn't see when they're walking down and what the timing and all that kind of stuff. And I also, his name is John Higgins, and I called him John Williams. So I kind of paired the guy prior to him and his name together, and I also know a John Williams. So it was just a complete mess.
Well, I think we all know a John Williams.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Composers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but guys, thank you so much for joining me. I was very scared I was going to call you guys Violent Silhouette.
There's a funny story about that.
Okay, so it wouldn't be the first time.
So that was supposed to be the original band name that we had
Okay.
come up with. Oh, that's Mimi.
Oh, I have a black cat too.
Yeah, she's real nice. She's our production assistant,
Nice.
junior engineer. So originally it was supposed to be Violent Silhouettes, and that was kind of the name that we had landed on. But I was talking to the promoter of our first show. I was out to dinner and he passed by. He's like, oh yeah, I'm making the flyer tonight. What's the name of your band? And I go, Violent Silhouette. So he goes, Violet Silhouette. That's really cool. I like that. I'm like, yep, that's the name. And that's how we're now Violet Silhouette for the past
There we go.
3 years. 4 years.
4 years.
4 years. Jesus.
Time flies when you're locked down.
Yeah, for real.
And as far as the band goes, Zai, what part of the band are you?
I'm the singer and guitarist. But yeah, as far as the first two EPs have been Yeah, just a lot of these songs that I had kind of cooped up in an archive, and what great timing for the pandemic to happen. And then I just sort of like really started hashing them out with Dan and our bassist Justin. And it was just kind of like a really cool opportunity, yeah, to just kind of take these songs that I have kind of had as like a sort of skeleton. They're just like skeleton tracks, really raw and stripped down. And then I took them into the studio with Dan and our other member, and yeah, that's where it all happened.
Now, did you guys know each other prior to this, or?
Yeah, we both met DJing at a club down here called Respectable Street in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. I had been DJing there for a very long time, and Zai had just started DJing there. And you were doing it for like what, like a year maybe
Yeah,
before
yeah.
that? 6 months to a year. And
Hmm.
then we finally like just we'd see each other, we'd say hi, and then one night we like had dinner together and then just totally bonded over music and kind of where we were going, where we wanted like music projects to go and things like that. And we both had a vision for the same kind of not just sound, but also atmosphere and aesthetic and just kind of this all encompassing silhouette of uh, sound and image.
That's
It's just
cool.
more of like a feeling than anything else.
Yeah, and how would you describe your music, specifically as far as like genre or things like that?
Dusk, but with more reverb.
Yeah, we've been going off this thing called post wave.
Post wave, okay.
Yeah, so it's anything that kind of has post in front of it as a sort of already existing genre is like kind of obviously takes some of the elements of that sort of origin genre and kind of takes it a little farther with newer nuances and elements and stuff. So we do take a lot of influence and inspiration from dark wave, new wave, and other, alternative 80s genres, synth pop, etc.
Post punk.
But post punk, of course. But we try to kind of put our own, our own element or idea or feeling into it, and we've kind of just landed on, post wave being a really good sort of umbrella term.
Okay. And if someone was watching or listening to this, and they wanted to check out your music, they were like, what does this sound like? Are there other bands that you would compare yourselves to, just as a reference?
What does it sound like? That's always such a great question. I don't know. There's definitely bands that we've been influenced by, like for sure Depeche Mode. Um, but we don't sound like we're making Depeche Mode songs. But I think like lyrically and texturally and sonically, a lot of that influence came through um, for us. And then we're both kind of influenced by different things. So I think what comes out at the end is something that's a little definitely dancey, definitely moody, synth driven, but also with like an emphasis on, because like both of our backgrounds were like in like punk bands and rock bands and stuff like that. So I think we bring like this very sometimes it's a shoegazy element, especially in the last EP. I think in this EP, there's guitars are a little bit more sparse and a little brighter, um, more melody kind of going in. I don't think that answered the question at all, though. I don't think that tells anybody what we sound like.
But you mentioned a couple bands.
Ministry drums.
Yeah, minute you'll hear elements of, old industrial bands, origin bands, if you will, like Ministry and so forth. But like I said, it's a little bit of everything without and also being kind of hard to pin down what exactly we were trying to sort of emulate, which, if as far as we're concerned, is a cool thing.
Well, that's one thing that's cool about music in general. It's like it's up for interpretation. It's up for whoever wants to consume it at that time. Um, it's fun too. I just interviewed a band called Death Valley Dreams, which is
Oh, that's a good band name.
Yeah, and it's a great band and very synth driven, and also with the same PR people as you guys, which is WTF. It doesn't stand for what you think it stands for. It stands for
No.
Whoa, that's fresh. Tori helped arrange this, so shout out to Tori and the group over there. But yeah, so it's funny that within the last 4 interviews I've done, two of them have been with that group, and two of them have had similar sounds.
Yeah.
But as far as, so you guys are from Florida,
We're from South Florida.
and what's the scene like in that area?
It's constantly trying, I think. It's let's see. So we're based out of West Palm, and like I said, we have this club called Respectable Street that's been around for I think maybe 36, 37 years at this point.
Oh, wow.
Like same owner, same kind of, alternative dance music. There was a huge goth scene here in like the 90s and kind of tapered off, but it's always been home to like um different electronic acts, different post-punk acts, different indie bands, and the venues have kind of gotten fewer and fewer over the past few years, especially
Mhm.
like Miami. Miami used to have like probably like 8 to a dozen places as like an alternative band where like you could play, and now I think there's like 3 places.
That's
Yeah.
like everywhere, I feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah, and then same with Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale, I think there's like maybe like 3 places that like you can play.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to like play with local bands, when we're down here. And people keep trying, but it's hard because it's like everything's like 21 and up. I think that's happening like most places now.
Right.
Uh, so there's really no all ages shows. And like when I was younger, like even when I was in my early 20s, like you'd still go to an all ages show, and sure there'd be a bunch of like 14 and 15-year-olds running around like having the time of their life, and you could like hang out at the bar and be like, oh, I remember when I was like in high school and like how much fun that was. But also like everybody could, you had like real community around shows and around music and stuff. um but we do some synth nights. We did was it dark wave disco?
Yep.
Yeah, we did that a couple clubs, and that's, since we're both DJs, we show up and like do our own little thing. And there's a good like dance scene around it, and so like the clubs will, they'll throw a band in, or sometimes there'll be a couple bands and a DJ. um and then outside of here, then there's really not too much going on until you reach like Orlando or Tampa or something, and those are like 3-4 hours away from us.
Hmm. That's interesting. Now, do you guys go outside of that area? Do you do a touring at all, or are you kind of just local to that area?
Yeah, so we did last week we played Absolution Fest in Tampa, which was pretty cool. Nuevo Testamento, Light Asylum, Priest, Panic Panic Priest, Night Sins. There was a really, really great lineup. And those guys do shows, those promoters, Community After Dark, they do shows like in Tampa and Orlando and stuff. We're going out, we're doing a couple shows out in LA in middle of November. So I think November 12th, we're playing at Redwood in Los Angeles. And then the 16th, we're playing in Long Beach at Alex's Bar. So what we're kind of trying to do is like hit like a metro area for like 3 dates and then like come back home, because like we're so far from like we can't drive anywhere.
Right.
If we wanted to go play a show in like Atlanta, like that's a 9 hour, 10 hour drive for us. And that's
Yeah.
takes us like 6 hours to just get out of fucking Florida.
Yeah.
So
That's gotta be tough.
yeah, it is. It is. But fortunately, we've been like, we've been meeting, playing some of these smaller festivals and stuff. We've been meeting people from all over the place that are super supportive. And, we'll have definitely some people out at our shows, and they'll be like, oh, you should check out this venue. Oh, you should check out this club. So we're going to, I think probably early next year, we're going to do some dates like New York, New Jersey, maybe Pennsylvania, then do like, like I said, like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then like fly home. And then a month later, go out to the Midwest and do like Chicago, where Justin lives right now. Do Chicago, Minneapolis, and one other place that's out there, and as a small band, that's your options are kind of limited unless you like get on a tour with somebody.
Sure. You mentioned Pennsylvania. Do you know whereabouts in Pennsylvania? Do you have any ideas or
We do not, but we're certainly open to them.
let's go, Vinny. Vinny the V spot. Let's go. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll let you. We'll trust me, because we hit up literally everybody we talk about. Like, hey, so anything going on out there? So yeah, so
Well, like anywhere else, like you mentioned before. I mean, this area, had a wow, I don't even know how I would call it, but even back in the day, we had like two underage places. It was Home Base and Cafe Metro, and like a ton of bands played at Cafe Metro, like huge names that are out there today.
yeah, it's a name. That's a name that I would see on like people's like their
Yeah,
touring list. Yeah.
yeah, and so those are both no longer around. Cafe Metro is now a split barber shop and tattoo shop, which is pretty neat.
Hmm.
But and we had an underage, well, not an underage, all ages show or a venue called Carl Hall that was around for maybe 3 years, but that closed maybe a year ago now. I don't know that there's any all age venues now around here. Maybe one. Might be called the Keystone Stage. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, and it's hard, and like I get it. It's like local city ordinances and stuff like don't make it easy. Like we have this great venue down here called Ray's Downtown, which has been closed for a long time now. But I remember like the day where that ordinance went into effect, where you couldn't serve alcohol, unless it was an over 21 show,
right.
and like, his business was just like done in 6 months. You'd have like great shows, tons of people coming to the show. But those places make their money on liquor sales.
Right. That's
Pay
what
their bills,
sucks.
and, like, yeah.
Well, I told you earlier before we started, I used to work at an entertainment weekly newspaper, and bars would used to pop up all over the place. There'd be a new bar at least once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with a lot of them, and you could always tell like when the bar that was around started hurting because they would start doing underage nights. They would do like one night a week on a Thursday. And that was always we was called the kiss of death because every time that they would try and do that, because you knew they were hurting, they wanted to try and just have a night where they would, the underagers would come in and pay a $10 cover charge that would just make $10 off them immediately, and then charge them for sodas or whatever. But there's always a problem. There's always kids underage trying to sneak in the 21 and older side, and there's always somebody who's older who's like thinks it's funny and
Right.
but
Fucking people, man.
what are you gonna do? I mean, that's who we are as humans. We want to break the rules.
It is pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, if I told you some of the stuff I did, I won't even do it on air because I don't want my son or daughter to.
Right, you have a brand.
Well, if you want to call it that. I have children who one day might dig into these. I don't know. Probably not, but who knows? But yeah, some of the stuff I did, you did stuff to just say you did it.
Just to do it, yeah.
Yeah, just that you did to get shit.
Yeah.
That's why I was just talking to guys in Death Valley Dreams. We were talking about smashing mailboxes and dumb shit like that. But yeah, it's hard. So it's like I love the idea. There's always bands forming, bands writing music together, but it's harder than ever, right? I mean, there's a bunch of different variables. There's how do you get your music out there to the people? How do you get them? How do you break through the noise that is the millions and billions of songs on streaming services? How do you overcome the obstacles of lack of places to play? Like as far as you guys are concerned, coming together, starting this band, Violet Silhouette. What's what's in it for you guys? Like, why is this such a why do you want to do this together?
Well, I think that human beings have been doing this forever. you know, that's what made you think human beings so, I don't know, what makes, not to give us some sort of cosmic significance, but as far as on Earth, special, we're kind of like one of the only creatures that like celebrate when we should just be surviving. We like, what's the point of art? What's the point of aesthetic appreciation of XYZ, like of anything? But yet our survival, spiritual anyway, survival is like really importantly tied to just the exuberant acts of celebration, festivity, and of course
Norman. Yeah.
that's with music, it's with art and all of the other things that accompany that.
Yeah, being creative.
Yeah, I mean, if we
Yeah.
can't be creative, if all we're doing is just surviving for the sake of surviving and we can't really be creative also, I don't know how it's gonna pan out or how we would have made it throughout
Yeah.
the aeons of history.
Yeah. It really makes it worth it. I mean, the whole experience. I mean, there's so much shit wrong with our world at any given time, but my God, the art and the music are fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, music is such a powerful thing. Whether you can create it and write it, or you're just a consumer, or whatever it might be. I mean, uh, you know, it sounds like cliche, but like music literally touches everyone. I mean,
It
it's
does.
such a powerful
Well,
force. I
you
mean,
think of, you think
it's
of like like a really, when a song's recorded right and you have like a good pair of headphones on or the sound system's just right, and this utter delicateness can like of like a single tone, whether it's somebody's voice or like a keyboard or a guitar, and it's just the way it was recorded and played and performed and what somebody pulled out of something, whether it's themselves or a machine or something, and it just delivers in this perfect way that like you feel it physically and you feel it emotionally and like super heavy, super fast. Like there's something for every feeling and emotion. And I think that's also a big part of our writing process too, is it's a very emotive um as far as like writing and performance goes for us.
and what do you guys write about? Where do you pull inspiration from?
I think that a lot of my lyricism lately, and Dan, even me and Dan will sometimes both sort of like go into our own poetic sort of processes and then we'll kind of mash them together in some songs. But I think they really are about, you know, things that is inextricable to the human experience, like loss and, emotional estrangement, desperation. I mean, it can range from anything like, you know, really deep, dark, etc., or very romantic and earthly even, or mundane and accessible. But if you write about those things in a certain fashion, they become more than the mundane.
Mm-hmm.
And are you able to like for me, if I ever I can't write a song, put a gun in my head, I'm not gonna I'm dead, right? Um, you need to be in a certain headspace to write music, or are you able to kind of just create imagery and things like that in your head that you can write about? Because I always wonder, like, there's
I think
artists who have to be in a bad spot to be able to, like, that have an outlet.
Yeah. And if like I've noticed like if I'm in a really bad spot, like everything I write is just shit. But I write it and I hold on to it because you never know when like that one line that I wrote like 3 years ago has something to do with something that I'm writing today. So I'm very like with my stuff, it's as it comes to me or just as I hear it in my head, and I'll write a line or like two lines or four lines. And like as I was saying, it's like, I'll say, oh, I want to use this. Here, what about this for like a chorus? And then he'll take it, he'll rearrange it, he'll be coming from somewhere else and hear something else with it. And all of a sudden we have a song that neither of us would have written on our own. Um, and then for me, like I'm very much like I was saying earlier, like he had the skeletons like of the songs, and I'm very, oh, I hear this, oh, I hear this, oh, I hear this. But if I don't have that, I'm like, I guess this is okay. Like I don't think a lot of things I write are very usable until I hear it like with something else, and then I can like, okay, I can come up with a part to like complement this.
I always found it very interesting, like the like where artists and how artists draw inspiration, like how you said artists have to be in a bad spot or something to just kind of have that that tidal pool of content, right? And sometimes I can resonate with that. I'll be in quote unquote bad places and I'll be forced to have to, you know, confront something within me that I have to use art to channel. But sometimes it happens just like spontaneously. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll just, oh shit, where's my pen and pad? I need to write this down. It's something so nonsensical and surreal that it, you know, I probably won't make sense out of it until like a month or two later. But or sometimes I'll just be doing something, once again, very mundane, just be like mowing the lawn, and something will catch my eye, or I'll hear a combination of sounds or something, and some interesting collision will happen, and then I'm running to a canvas to lock it down and capture it. And then it's gone. And then if I didn't do that, it would just be just this little daydreamy thought that just flows away just like that.
It's such a cool thing to have as an artist and musician to be able to like recognize that and kind of like, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't need it right now, but this could be something later on. Like that's just like a cool. And I don't think everyone has that. You know, they'll just go through their day and they'll just, hey, you know, whatever, and it's just a thought and it's in and out. But like, you know, you know, musicians and people who are creative, they take those moments and they like, this is going to be something somewhere, somehow, whether it's a painting or music or whatever it might be. It's just,
Right.
it's such a weird, and I definitely think there's like parts of the brain that's like, you know, that artists have and creators have versus people who are, you know, an accountant or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I can't put anything line by line. I'm just utterly confused by.
Yeah.
Like no logical process in my brain that like work. Like I have to like, yeah, it doesn't work. I can't be an accountant.
I think the only, you know, the only difference between, say, the accountant and the artist is perhaps that, how would I call it? That sort of permeability between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, or the dream realm. You know, the dream realm is the unconscious. It has all those. It's the big collective pool of ideas and images, symbolism, concepts, and once that little barrier between those two places becomes a little bit more permeable, a little bit more transparent, ideas will leak out into the conscious mind. Now, if this happens to such a degree where it's flooding the conscious mind, then, you know, that could be what some people would call like psychosis, right? But it's an interesting idea that everyone possesses that sort of bridge between, and how people bridge those two places. Well, that is definitely, I think, the question of creativity.
Yeah, like that's like if you've ever seen like a David Lynch interview, he talks about like transcendental meditation and stuff like that. And the whole concept is that you're relaxing your mind to a state of to access like pure consciousness, which is really like nothing. It's not what happens there. It's when you get out of it and like you're back, and then like Sai said, like it allows all these ideas to like leak through, because all of this is either, you know, it's either within you or it's in what a larger pool of consciousness may or may not be, but that everything exists and it's all real and it's all somewhere.
It's an interesting idea, right? Here's an analogy. It's hard to write about something, say physically on like a sheet of paper with a pen, when you're in the water. When you're in the water, when you're swimming in the idea and the creativity of it and the idea of it, you can't really document it. You just have to swim. That you have to live it, that you have to experience it. And then the act of creation is almost like the bringing back of the treasure from that place or state or experience.
Would you say you guys are spiritual in any aspect?
I'd say spiritual and metaphysical and other other things. Yeah, there's
Other
definitely,
uses?
yeah. I
Okay.
think we're definitely, and we both have our own unique ideas and thoughts around this, which is the best part about any spirituality, really. If you're not really tied to a set of
Yeah.
religious doctrine or rules, you can like kind of have fun with it, and with a lot of thought experiments. But yeah, we're definitely we're definitely on some sort of wavelength.
Well, that's what it sounds like. I mean, like just like the what you're saying too is like, and I think music today kind of, I don't say sucks because it doesn't suck, but I mean, I think we got so much great music, um, you know, 70s and even earlier than that because of spirituality, drug use,
Yeah, psychedelics.
unlocking different parts of your like just your mind. And I kind of miss that. You go back and look at listen to like Pink Floyd and shit like that, and who else? Shit, I'm trying to blank, but like
Mm.
Literally
that
anybody who made music
anybody, yeah.
between
It's just like
1964 and like 1978.
yeah, it was so good though. It's like,
Yeah.
and there's no real direction, but like that's the beauty of it. It's just like this. It's just like this perfect imperfection.
Hmm. Well, I mean, if you go back even to our tribal shamanic past, that's what music was being, that's what we were doing with music, the whole using music and rhythm and beat as a sort of tool to achieve trance. And in that trance, you get messages. And in those messages, you bring them back. And they're vital information to your tribe and to the health of your society. And it brings solace and comfort to the people within that, your little clan or population or whatever have you.
I love
Hmm.
that shit. I love that. It's like I don't know. I wish I did more drugs when I was younger.
That's okay. I didn't really start doing drugs until I was in my 30s. So,
Yeah,
but
and I mean,
listen to all your listeners out there. There's always time to start doing drugs.
well, it's I mean, great. It's like we marijuana has become recreationally legal, medicinally legal, things like that, which has been great. I think that's
Much more widely accepted in
so
general.
so accepted. I remember when growing up, I was young. I mean, they were showing us commercials with broken eggs saying this is your brain that's gonna like your skull is gonna be cracked and your brain's gonna leak out of your head and will be fried in a frying pan.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's scary. I don't want to do that.
that
That's
only
like
happens if you don't take a break. You gotta check in with yourself. You gotta take a break,
yeah.
get back to
Mm.
normal, and then you can go do it again.
But yeah, I always wish I've never I really I I've had weed or had weed. I've tried weed a few times. I'm just not good at it. I go to the moon because I typically mix it with alcohol. Uh, but I heard mushrooms are an amazing psychedelic.
Mushrooms are
Um,
great, and especially like because with mushrooms you can start with a little and you work your way up with it. Like you can microdose with mushrooms. You can just take like a little bit. You don't have to see God the first time. If you
well,
take enough, you'll.
that's what I'm scared of. Like, well, I mean, when I was younger, I was always a straight and narrow. Yeah, I drank here and there, but I just kind of like on a straight and narrow. And I wish I would have. You hear stories about mushrooms, but now yeah, they talk about microdosing and doing it to the point
Speaking
where
of things that are widely accepted now,
yeah,
psilocybin.
It's very interesting growing up in South Florida in the early 2000s, because there was a really weird thing happening. There was a flood of the opiate epidemic going on, which was a systemically, sort of charged situation. And then you had the illicit, or the, how would I call it, the designer drugs that were being sold in gas stations, which would give you the worst trip of your life as long as you were 18 years old and could purchase it. And it was just like a strange time because it was like it really felt like a dystopian jungle down here of altered states of consciousness. And there's videos out there of people being on these gas station hallucinogenics, and it's utterly terrifying, to have just like literally grown up like right in the midst of all of that.
Yeah, it was like, was it Spice and K2 and
Yeah, and bath salts
Yeah.
and all that. Like,
Salvia.
yeah, Salvia.
Salvia
yeah.
got me once. Real quick story.
Yeah, because everybody always has a horror story about it. I'm like, I don't want that.
So I'm at this party at the lake. And I just gotten there, yeah, again, drinking, and someone's like, "Hey man, you want to smoke some pot?" I'm like, nah, I'm good. So I had a couple more beers, and his name's Dave Palladino. I'll never forget this moment. I swear he said, "Hey, do you want to smoke pot again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck it, like, whatever,
Your
it's fine."
inhibitions at that point.
Yeah, it's the guard has been dropped, and I'm like, "Sure, yeah, whatever." So I do it, and next thing I know, man, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. Like, this is a bad place. So I go out. They have like a campfire outside. I'm sitting, like my buddy's like, just sit down, relax, just chill out. So, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with the campfire, the little sparks that kind of fly off the top of the flame. I
Yeah.
thought they were fireballs chasing me.
Oh,
I literally, I got up, I ran out of the party down the street. I'm like, thought fireballs were chasing me.
Oh, you're a runner. I've met some runners on
yeah.
Salvia.
You guys are hard to keep together. You guys are hard to track down.
Yeah.
First and last time.
Yeah.
Dave Palladino, he claims, he goes, "No, dude, I told you it was salvia." I'm like, bro, I'm pretty sure that you didn't say that, because I was very apprehensive to marijuana.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
said salvia, I would have been like, what is that? It may have taken me a few more drinks to like said, okay.
Yeah.
Because at the time I didn't know what it was.
And then little did you know, it was one of the most potent plant psychedelics ever.
No clue.
Yeah.
It is a very potent psychedelic, that one for sure.
It's good to know what to expect.
Well,
Yeah.
no one did. That's the
One
thing,
did.
because
Yeah.
there was none, unless, so when this website is still around, and it's probably the reason why I probably haven't died in some in some respect, because there was a lot of education on it,
Is it Blue Light?
No, it was called arrowhead.com.
Oh yeah, that's
And
the other.
Arrowhead was just like a really good site where people shared a lot of testimonials, people shared a lot of intel and knowledge, all the way from legality to chemistry and so forth, about just about every as of yet documented substance that has an effect on human consciousness.
Mhm.
And if you kind of had the awareness of that website, you were a little better off. But still, yeah, salvia, when it hit the market, people really didn't know what to expect, and it took me quite a while to finally approach it. I think with a more, I wouldn't say like a medicinal approach, but something more holistic than just like being at a party, which that's how I did it the first couple times, was like that, and then just getting my socks blown off, and then just then months down the road being like, okay, I want to do this again, but I want to do it in my backyard during the day with someone who could tackle me if I started to run, like all these, like I really wanted to explore what this had to teach.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get that kind of analysis from an experience when, yeah, you're caught off guard like that.
Well, there's a big push, I think, for legalizing a lot of different things, and some states have legalized like a ton of shit. I think Oregon, like, they
Yeah.
legalized mushrooms and shit like that, I think. But like, there's so much knowledge and so much research done, and so much like the human body can have this and you'll feel a certain way, but you won't want to go jump off a cliff.
Right.
Which is kind of neat to think about, like to be able to have those euphoric moments, so to speak. And
Yeah, and well, because like, I think in order to have those moments, have those moments be truly like we don't always, like I said earlier, we don't always want to like go through a transformation. Sometimes we just want to feel like that elevation and that altered state. But knowing, approaching it with a positive mind is always, it's always like they say, like with like acid and any psychedelic, like set and setting. It's like I said, he's like, he wanted to be home. He wanted to be in his backyard. He wanted to be during the day, because if like you do some stuff at a party, well, it might be a really, really weird party just for you. And like everybody else might be on some totally other wavelength because you took too much. You've never done this before. You had a really shitty week, and it wasn't the day to take acid.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what that whole like, concept is to, kind of legalize shit more and have it be more
I just saw in California because Newsom vetoed a bill to decriminalize psilocybin or mushrooms, and because he said that by the time that went into effect, there's what they want to try and do, and I don't know if this is like the altruistic version. This probably has to do with money and like politics and all sorts of bullshit.
of course.
But they said they want to have like more resources and more like studies done so that people could be like publicly educated, so they don't have people freaking out in the streets, I guess. And I'm like, well, if you put it that way, I
Yeah,
could that.
that's
Yeah, but
sure.
but that's the problem too, is like you have these people who are so hardlined against it, or they're being funded to be hardline against it, regardless of what they think or not. And they have these oh fuck, that edible's kicking in. I'm losing my train of thought. God damn it, I was so close.
Oh no.
Oh,
What time is it?
ah,
Oh shit, it's almost an hour.
yeah. See,
Damn.
told you it was gonna
Damn.
happen. Damn it.
It feels like it's been 20 minutes.
People who are very unlike me. Um, but they prevent, they shoot down any sort of education. They shoot down any sort of resourcing or community outreach.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, do I want the safe needle dispensary down the street from my house? I don't think so. But is it better than having, needles on the sidewalk?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And because we need to focus on, harm reduction, and then that's the best way to combat, really, and it helps people who need help, and it really combats like shitty drug use.
Well, yeah, you talk about harm reduction. I mean, think about the way drugs are now. People are dying from fentanyl overdoses
Yeah.
doing coke. Like,
Yeah, and fentanyl, for one, why would you put fentanyl and coke? Those two shouldn't be together. Like,
because people are fucking
like,
bored.
yeah.
I don't know. It's terrible. But like, you talk about legalizing that shit, it's monitored, it's regulated. So like the more, again, I grew up, drugs are bad, don't do drugs. Your brain will crack open, and you'll fry in a frying pan. But now you get smarter, we're more educated, more, there's more research. It's like
people in Silicon Valley are doing it, and
yeah, maybe we should have regulated drugs and be able to know what we're doing.
I fully support that. I fully endorse that measure.
Well, I didn't mean to get on into drugs during our talk about your music.
Needs to get into drugs, but yet here we all are.
Yeah. The idea, I went to my first dispensary. I was in Colorado back in 2014. My buddy lives out there. It was his bachelor party. I remember walking in. He's like, "Yeah, dude, you can." And they're all like, "Cool. Like, hey, do you guys want to like melt into your couch?" We're like, "No, not really. We're kind of here for a bachelor party. We want to be able to hang out and be cool." Like, okay, well, here's this. Here are these items. And it's like, sweet. And they have cool like bud tenders. Rip on the bartender bud tenders, like, and like every like strain is a cool name and all that kind of shit. Like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my personal preference.
I live in Pennsylvania. And I'm a big advocate for recreational legalization because I want to see tax dollars be used or allocated correctly. Now, granted, we have a very corrupt state, but if we can get past that, like tax dollars for education, we only get better as a society if we're educated. And then fix our fucking roads, because I don't know if you guys are familiar, but you can't drive in PA without, bending the rim once a year in a
Yeah.
pothole.
Yeah.
But I digress. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know. Like I said, I grew up. I told you before we started. I grew up in Northwest New Jersey, so I'm very familiar with Pennsylvania roads.
You couldn't even pump your own gas.
I know. I don't even know
Still
if I still
can't.
can.
You
I
still
got.
can't. No.
Jeez. But I think they legalized weed. I
They
think
did.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like weird. Again, I think it's like weird loopholes. Like my friend said, it's like you have to buy stickers and then you can buy the weed. Like you can't just go in and like buy it like how you probably did in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's like a weird little
A stamp system like that.
something like that. But I think it's like I don't know. I don't know. I'm not even gonna ponder a guess. Perhaps your listeners know they can inform you.
I don't even know.
Or
I
me.
I was in Boston back in March and we walked into a dispensary. Um, my buddy's into that kind of stuff, and it was super cool. I just wanted to be there for the experience. But yeah, they're like, again, same thing. Like they're like, what do you guys want to do? Like, what are you feeling? Like, do you like a certain flavor? Blah blah blah. And he walked out with a couple joints, uh, a bag or two of edibles, and no questions asked. Here's my ID. Here's the money, and on his way.
Real nice time.
Real nice time.
Great
Again, I
transaction.
was just like, and everything's clean. It's like that, like almost like space age, like bright lights, white tables. Everything's like
Nice.
the
Very clean.
future. The future.
Yeah, remember smoking weed in the bushes, dude?
I
Remember
can't
that
even.
shit?
I can't even tell you. I told you before. I can't even tell you where I've done that because God forbid my son or daughter ever watch this.
I'm like, when if I ever have kids or whatever, if I'm like, showing the younger generations what it felt like to just like be high and smoke weed, back in my day or whatever, I would just show them Blair Witch Project. Like this is what this is what being high in the woods, hiding from society. It was just like this.
And you got your asshole friend trying to scare you the whole time.
Yeah. Well, there was as cool as it is to be able to do it legally now. It's like there was some aspect of life that was like kind of cool about not being able to do it, doing it in the wrong places. Like, there was this sense of like, a purpose almost. Like, hey, I'm breaking the rules. Like, if I get away with this, then
a natural defiance.
yeah,
Satisfied.
that's what we do as humans. We're just we're here to break the rules, and
when everything's permitted, it's like, well, shit. What am I going against?
Yeah.
And as humans, like we need that.
We do.
I don't know why we do, but we do.
It's human nature. We're animals.
It's part of it.
We're animals.
We are animals. Drug-fueled animals.
Drug-fueled animals.
Yeah, drug-fueled animals.
I like that.
And to jump a little bit into Terrence McKenna, apparently it was via our ancestors' experimentation with naturally occurring plants and fungi that catapulted our ancestors into the evolution of who we are today. Mathematics, science, and everything else.
Sometimes they call it the stoned ape theory. That's how I've seen it on the internet. It may be called something else much better said than that.
That's the layman's term.
Well, again, I'm sorry we got off topic here, and Dan, I don't want you to get too far gone as the edible kicks in.
Oh no, it's fine.
We'll get back to the music that you guys do real quick, and I'll let you guys go. But as far as what you have released out there that people can kind of absorb, what's out there for people to consume?
Well, on October 20th, we have our new EP, FEVERBLUE. That's going to be on all the streaming services and YouTube Music and Spotify, Tidal, and Apple, and a bunch of ones in Asia that I've never heard of that we've released it to. And everything's available on Bandcamp. And we have our previous EP, Semi-Permanent Derealization. We got a couple singles out there too. And yeah, they're all available everywhere on wherever you listen to music. And Bandcamp has a couple extra songs that we put out there, a few covers, a live version of one or two songs.
Our
What's the
merch. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say our merch is also on Bandcamp, and it's just like when you go on our Bandcamp, it really the layout and the visuals really like kind of bring you into that like silhouette that we're trying to share. The same thing with the album cover of Fever Blue. It just we're trying to, in a sense, cross wires the people who like want to listen to our stuff. We're trying to take the visual and the audio and all these other tactile things and try to cross those wires in your brain, so when you see the album, you see the artwork of the album, you're also tasting things. Just that sort of synesthetic mashing and collage of the senses.
What's the benefit of Bandcamp? I know a lot of artists kind of do like they'll do early releases on Bandcamp before it hits like Spotify and Apple and all that kind of shit. But they also kind of have like hidden gems there. Like, uh, I mean, is that a better platform as
I
far as monetarily speaking goes, or
Monetarily speaking, 100%. It's the better platform because that's where people can actually like buy and purchase it and hold on to either physical media or the downloads where like you do Spotify and things like that. It's cool. I mean, I love Spotify and Tidal. I use them all the time. But when you go to Bandcamp, it's like, we kind of control, like Zai said, we kind of control that storefront. We control like that look and that image. And it's like we're serving it to you in a more thoughtful way. Plus, our revenue share when people buy things is much better. So if you buy a song for $1, we get 85 cents because the Bandcamp keeps 15 cents to, run Bandcamp and, the credit card transactions and pay their people and everything. Um,
and that they do like Bandcamp
Bandcamp
Fridays too,
Fridays,
right?
yeah, which is once a month, and that's when all 100% of all proceeds go to the artists. So that's a great time when people release music, or they'll like put their whole discography on sale. It's where I buy like a lot of my DJ tracks, so I can, because I know that artist is like that money's going directly to them, and it doesn't have to go through. It's not the 0.001 cent that Spotify gives you that you hope adds up to $13. So
Right.
we can share a sandwich.
But yeah,
While we're playing it
you
in.
can buy one quote unquote value meal at a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
So real quick, I mean, this episode is going to come out probably a couple days before the October 2023 release of Fever Blue. What can people expect from that?
Well, actually had a little experience with it today. I was uncomfortably stoned on the bus in public transit, and it was really rainy and gloomy, and people looked I'll say really worn, tired, and really looking forward to going home and feeling that sort of warmth. And I had the album I was listening to it on my headphones, and I suddenly felt really connected to it at like from the third person anyway, like kind of forgetting that I had anything to do with it. But I would recommend walking in a drizzle with it. I would recommend taking a different route home to it, walking down the street to it. Movement, I think, is the friend to this album.
Mm.
Not just physical movement, but emotional movement, something that like, yeah.
And we put it together in a way, we played with the track listing. I think we had 7 songs done for it. We're only releasing 6. So I thought the 7th just didn't. When I heard it, it just jolted me in a different place. Like I felt like these 6 songs really, pulled like the perfect like 30 minutes of an emotional daydream process. And then, the other song, I'm like, no,
Ooh,
we
I
got
like that.
yeah.
An emotional daydream process. Yeah.
And like I just sat here and like I listened to it. I had my headphones on, and yeah, I just leaned back and just it really took me somewhere. And I was, and like, so I said, it's like I forgot about it. Like I forgot this is like what rewrote. Like I wasn't thinking about, oh, that keyboard part sounds good. Oh, I like what I did there. Oh, I like what you did there. Because all that happens before. And once we get the masters back, we're like, okay, that's done. This is, the painting's finished. It's no longer ours, which is, a really good feeling. It's very relieving.
Is that hard to do, to kind of remove yourself from the music and not be like nitpicking like, your pieces?
I think we give ourselves a lot of time to do that. We try not to rush it, and like we'll sit with it, and sometimes we won't listen to like the songs for, we'll let it sit for like a month, and then we'll come back to it and be like, I don't know why I didn't think that was gonna work. This sounds great. So, it balances out, and there's other things where you're like, oh yeah, no, that we really need to fix that. That really needs to change. But I think we both have very good taste. I think that's why we were good DJs. Because we know it, like we know when it's there. And I think for me, it's different than like an artistic push of every piece is like exactly where it needs to be. I'm like, this sounds good. This evokes emotion. I could dance to this. I could visualize in my head people doing, different like scenes that don't exist. And when I can do that, then I know it's ready.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
cool.
if it engages, if it makes the body want to instinctively move, and or if it transports the imagination, when both those things happen, that's really cool. If one of those things happen, that's also cool too. If none of those things happen, what are we doing again? It's like
Yeah, then it's just disposable.
or it maybe it's an ambient track, or maybe I don't know. Yeah, you really take it back to the drawing board. But yeah, we part of our, I don't know, our screening process for like whether or not we really want to go with the song is half of it is very, I don't know, like children are very interesting creatures in that they just know what's like good. They don't need to think about, oh well, these kids are gonna look at me weird if I like this stuff, or they just like what they like.
Right.
And so we think about it like that, like, dude, do we like what we like? And then the other half is, okay, but where does it take us? Where do we want it to take the listener? All these other things come into question.
Yeah, and we're really lucky that we both like we'll just sit and we'll talk about that for hours about where we wanted to go before we even like do anything with it, or then all of a sudden like inspirational strike and we'll bang out a bunch of parts like really fast.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing to talk about, like viewing it from a place of a child, because kids are so innocent, or they have not been influenced yet. So it's kind of a neat place to kind of like just reflect on it at.
Yeah. So that doing activities or things that will help that that sort of that will create that neuroplasticity is important.
Yeah.
I wrote a lot of poetry during the writing of this album that felt separate from the album altogether. I did a lot of like physical practices, like yoga and dancing, and just sort of did a bunch of these things that would help promote this freshness of mind for me to sort of reflect on whatever it is that we were working on.
No, it's cool. I'm looking forward to it coming out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
love to hear what you guys think about it.
Yeah. So the songs they have available right now, like I there's some of them I kind of like I feel should be in the soundtrack to Blade.
That's the nicest thing anybody could ever say to me.
Yeah,
No, seriously, like
that's
like you
cool.
should, someone's like Wesley Snipes is walking like through town to go kill uh vampires, to your music. That's the soundtrack.
Vampire Sex Club music. That's what it really is.
That's I mean, that's
All right.
opening scene or whatever it was in the first Blade.
Where it's like the blood sprinklers.
Blood's yep.
You know that
Yep.
song was a remix of a New Order song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Took me forever.
Great. I fucking love that. That's still a great song. I'm gonna
Those are
listen.
great movies.
It really is.
Well, they are making a new one, so maybe we'll
Of
have.
course they are.
Maybe we'll have our shot. Maybe we'll be in the new Blade.
Submit it. Submit it.
All right.
Shoot your shot.
If anyone knows how to do that, you can reach out to contact us.
Tori, get these guys in the right place for the remake of Blade. Let's go. Whoa, that's fresh. Let's go. Well, last question, real quick. You guys are both DJs. Tell me about your DJ style. What are we playing? What are we? What kind of crowds are we talking about?
Let's see. Well, when we're together, we're kind of more. We call it dark wave disco, and it's definitely, dark wave. I go like kind of some techno. 80s post-punk, French new wave, like all sorts of, it's all over the place, but it has, again, it's like what we were saying about our music. It's like, what vibe do I want people to have? What soundtrack am I creating for people's evening? It's all about taste. It's about what song sounds good after the next one. I mean, I started doing it in like, I want to say like I started DJing in like 2007 with like, mostly like indie dance, blog house kind of stuff. But I always would like throw in, Depeche Mode, 9 Inch Nails, a lot of 80s dance bands and stuff like that. And like I said, that's kind of like where we had a crossover, and I still kind of mix all that stuff together today, but I'm always like very focused on like what's new and like what's coming out now that's like really good and you need to hear this.
Yeah.
You know all these other songs. That's why you like them so much, because you know them, but
right,
songs you've never heard before, when they're mixed in right and they're placed the right part of the set, like people keep that momentum.
like what is that?
Same energy, and they're like, okay, and then they leave knowing that they know that song, and now they like that song, and now they'll go look up that artist, and the next time you play it, it's like more people come on the dance floor for it.
Yeah. That's one thing I told you before. I started emceeing some weddings, and that's what I respect about DJs so much, is being able to kind of read the room and just like, all right, like this is the vibe. This is I can take this song and it can marry into this song, and it just kind of keeps that level and even the build up per se.
What about you, Zion? I know I went off on a tangent myself.
As far as DJing?
Yeah, because you've been doing that Eden in the Dark.
Yeah, so Eden in the Dark is a really cool little night that I've been doing with my friend Nicole, and it's basically like taking a little bit of like the dark post-punk stuff, but yeah, with a focus on playing newer artists, and we'll even throw in like some kind of sort of theme sometimes. Like we'll do like a foreign post-punk set where we just feature all the music that like we love, that people know, but from different countries who, I don't know, the market doesn't really acknowledge because it's not in English or something. So we like to give a lot of kudos and credit to bands kind of like keeping that genre appreciated and alive in their own respective countries. Also just like a lot of music that was influenced by synthesizers. Like Japanese city pop is one of my favorites, because of their like very early and pioneering use of what would then become and still is a staple to electronic dance music. So just kind of dipping back into the origins in a not so expected Western to the West's way of music. That made any sense whatsoever.
Yeah. It's again, music is open for interpretation and kind of appeals to who it appeals to. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's the best part about it.
It's the best part. Well, guys, I don't want to take up any more of your time. It's getting late. It's a Monday night, right? Um, Violet Silhouette, where can people find you online?
Instagram, Violet Silhouette Official, um, violetsilhouette.com, and on all the, you can find us on YouTube and all of the music streaming services.
Very cool. And
With a-
October 20th, the new album comes out. Any plans to promote it, whether it be at shows or whatever, to close out the year, or any big plans for the beginning of next year? Where we stand?
Yeah, so we have some shows down in South Florida that we're doing, and then we're gonna be in LA and Long Beach in November, and I think we have 2 or 3 shows out there, and then usually December we keep it pretty local, but I think in the new year we're definitely we have some things we're working up in the Northeast, like New York, New Jersey, probably Pennsylvania.
We
Yeah.
got to get you into the V Spot or a place called Noor.
You're
And
right.
Noor is owned by Josh Balls, and Josh Balls was in Motionless in White,
Oh
and
yeah.
and he has a project now called Strange Kids.
Oh cool.
He's also
Nice.
managing Death Valley Dreams that I mentioned earlier. But those would be 2 good spots for you guys to hook
That
up with.
that's
Sweet.
fantastic. Yeah, so maybe you'll see us there in 2024.
That'd be
We'll
sweet.
keep in touch.
We should for sure. And you mentioned merch. If you ever need a merch person, I'm sure you're happy with who you have. I'm not trying to take it from them, but full time I work for a company called Axelrad Screen Printing. Shout out Axelrad. We do merch, we do screen printing, embroidery, design, whatever you guys need. So if you're ever in the need of new merch or new designs, hit me up.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, absolutely.
Come up to
Perfect.
PA, give you a tour of the shop, take you to the V Spot. We'll meet Vinny, play a show. It'd be awesome.
I
One of
think
the best.
I think we're planning a whole day here.
Yeah.
So what we're
It-
gonna have so what we'll do is we'll order merch through you, go to pick it up, day of the show.
You can come like actually screen print it yourself. I'll let you like pull the squeegee just for just a quick, just for content, for your social media.
There you
Like,
go.
hey, we literally print our own merch. Just a quick video, right? We'll pack it up. You'll be on your way. Go to the V Spot or Noor, play a show, sell all the merch, make millions, and then be on your way to the next place.
Love it.
Boom.
We fixed all the world's problems here. We
At
got
least
you
our
covered.
we solved our problems. We solved all
Sure,
our
Yeah.
sure. That's a good
Well,
place
guys,
to start.
thank you so much again for taking the time on a Monday night. I'm sure there's better things to do in Florida right now than to be talking to me. So,
It's not. It's still too humid out, man. It's
dude, it's
So-
like 40 degrees here, and
God, I'm so jealous. You know how badly I want to wear a jacket?
well, I'll tell you what. If it wasn't like rain, it's like annoying rain.
That rainy
Ah.
40 degrees.
Yeah, it's like it's damp. It's bone chilling. We don't have a fall here anymore. It goes from 95 degrees. Last week it was 90 degrees here, and now it's 40. We don't have like a true fall anymore. It is what it is. We can blame climate change. We can blame Biden. We can blame Trump if you want to. Whatever you want to do, we'll blame somebody. It is what it is.
I blame
TV. You blame who?
television.
Yeah, I blame aliens.
There you go.
Might as well.
But whatever. Guys, thank you. I hope your new album is received very well. Great tunes available online right now, and hopefully you'll be in the next remake of Blade.
Yeah, we're shooting for it, brother. Thank you so much.
Well, I mean, hey, you know what? This is, I don't know if you could see. We'll go over here. Well, this is an award-winning podcast. I don't know if you know that or not.
I see several awards. behind
Yeah.
it.
2 of them are in my son's room. He confiscated them last year. But but
That-
we're gonna go to the moon. We're gonna this show's gonna take you to new heights. You're gonna be in the next Blade remake.
We'll see you there.
I'm
We'll see.
lying to you. I'm totally lying to you. One day I hope that I could have
After
that
all
influence.
this, we built so much trust, and now lies.
No, not lies. I'm telling you the truth.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
Hopefully one day I'll have that influence, and with your help, with your
We'll
interview,
we'll provide the soundtrack. We'll provide the soundtrack to your influence.
exactly with your audience, we can get there.
We can do it.
We'll do it together. All
Let's
right,
do it.
Zai, Dan, thank you very much. Violet Silhouette, guys, take care.
Thank
Take
you.
care, brother.
All right, thank you.